Right, so this is the Holley 600 we picked up for use on our Fairlane. Well, originally it was just part of a parts haul, so it sat in a bag for a little while, and we used the other one, which we know is good. This one's pretty grotty. The vent tube at the top's all sort of bent over, and I bought a rebuild kit and that sort of stuff for it. So in this video I want to pull this down and get ready to start rebuilding it. Of course, in the process, everything has to be hydroblasted, all fasteners have to be electroplated and all this sort of stuff. So when we put it together later in this video, it will hopefully resemble something new, or at least newer than it is. So I started disassembling it, and consequently I lost a bunch of footage of my memory card, so I only just got, one or two bits removed. So I wanted to make sure in this video that there's a lot of detail gone into rebuilding. There is a really good video on YouTube, and the guy does a fantastic job, but I've made sure in my video, I'll leave a link to his in the description, but I've made sure in my video that I've covered details that he didn't, and one of them involves the secondary metering block, and the other I can't remember. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you enjoy. Right, so in this video, I'm going to have a look at this 4160. Just had things back from platers, organising them into some sort of space. I have, put together one of the fuel bowls. Another one here we're going to do. Throttle body, I've put on the secondary this linkage here to stop the secondary from opening with the primary. It is a back secondary's carburetor. I'll put these two bits back on. And the idle up solenoid, or fuel shut off, what do you call it, shut off solenoid, I can't remember what it's called now. And so it's all sitting in place. This was all hydroblasted, so what's happened in essence is they can feel a little bit, that feels right there, they can feel a little bit bindy when you get them back, because hydroblasting is basically water with waterborne glass shot, if you know what I mean, and it does have a way of getting into things. I've just got a message. Also the primary metering block, I've just put those two jets in, and the rest of it's as you'd find it disassembled. So I can put that one on to the body. This is the main body. I haven't taken the choke flaps off, and I also haven't taken these throttle butterflies out. They really don't need to be. I didn't see the point. They're peened over at the other side, and that's all sort of factory and very good. I didn't want to upset that, and I didn't see any point in taking them out anyway. Right, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, looking at the secondary side here, there's a large, same as the primary, and that's used for the power valve. There's a large sort of rebate for a power valve, it looks like a power valve there. And it's very important with the secondary metering block, which is here, that we have something to reinforce it. So that's got to sit something like that. When we put a gasket on, where's my other glasses? I need my other glasses. This one, some carburetors use these and some don't. That gives the gasket stability. Yes. If the carburetor doesn't have one of these hollows, then that steel plate isn't necessary. The thing can just go on top of the gasket, the metering block. These are really fine holes there and there, sort of down in the bottom corner. If you know exactly, what size they need to be, you can drill them out, but there are performance upgrades for these available. And if you end up getting a secondary metering block, that will have the ability to stick custom sized jets in. If you're tuning it for high revs and it starts leaning out up above and all that sort of stuff, that's when you would use that. Right, gasket kit is really good on this. it got pretty much everything in it. I guess the first thing we've got to do is we've got to find the appropriate ones. Now, this gasket kit will do 750s and 600s. And there's a multitude of different gaskets available. Now this gasket we will need for this secondary plate here, so brace. And we also need to put the first one down. So that is going to be one of these other ones. So we've just got to sort of marry them up and make sure no crucial holes are sort of blocked up, if you know what I mean. Looking at these, that's going to be the best fit for here, as well as using the other gasket, which I'll put somewhere. What do I do with it? Here. And just make sure everything lines up. There's two locating pegs there. Same on that side. Like that. Which will then go in here. Like that. These use a special screw. They've got a weird head on them. And that's the bit there. And we can just put these in. And I'm just going to put them in slowly because I don't want to warp anything or damage anything. Alright. Floats need to be levelled when they're sitting upside down. And that's that's ready to go on. These ones use a shorter screw, fastener, and they have a plastic washer. Right. There's not much to this thing. There's a power valve, which we're going to use. I've got a new one here. It didn't look like there's anything wrong with the old one. There's the guy there. There's a gasket that sits on top of that. And the kit comes with all sorts of stuff, but it doesn't come with any instructions. So it's got to pick the right one. That actually looks pretty good. Just going to go through other gaskets to make sure I'm not wrong. No, that's definitely not it. I'm tipping it's one of these. And they're all the same, I think, aren't they? Yeah. And we've got to make sure it's a very, very slight ledge there for the gasket to sit on. And that looks like a perfect fit there. So I'm going to install it upside down so that I can see the gasket stays in the right position. And it moves beautifully. Coil gasket will drop in. Into that rebate there. And we screw these guys in. And we gently seat them. And then back them out a turn and a half. Half, one, half. Just like that. That's all we need to do. Same for the other side. Just like that. I cut my fingernails, I can't pick stuff up as well as I could. Seat them down, gently does it, half, 1/2. And the power valve just sits in 1-inch spanner. I've got it nice and central, just give it a bit of a nip up and you're golden. Now the float bowl, I've had all this hydroblasting, as I said. We're just going to go through. I used a can of brake clean and also some compressed air to sort this out. It's an older style unit, so it's got the brass floats. And the other thing to do with these, I have a jar of thinner I use in the garage, popped it in there, held it there to make sure there's no bubbles. So these have been, this carburetor hasn't been used in ages, so whatever was in there would have eventually come out. But I was a bit concerned that they looked a bit sucked in, but that's probably just in the design of them. Whatever the case, soaked in thinner, or at least held down under thinner, there were no bubbles. So that's a good thing. We've got a spring, that guy. The spring's interesting because it's, I hope this isn't there's a slight difference between the primary and secondary spring. Just give me a sec, I'm just going to battle this on. You can pull those legs together, put the spring over and then separate them. I managed to just twist the other one on and the spring will stay there on the float. So I've got this on, this spring, that's now sitting where it's supposed to be sitting. There's a ledge for it to sit on. There's a pivot that's part of the body. I'm going to drop it into place. And there's some really fine E-clips. That guy. Quite easy to drop. And we've got to get this, which is super fiddly, over there. And they're a pain in the neck. Just like that. Now because the float sits this way, I've got that in the right orientation, so I wouldn't have want that sort of with the open end facing up. So I've just got it facing down, which is the preferred orientation. And that's correct there. Now the kit also comes with new needles and seats with an O-ring. I'm just going to wet that and screw it in position. It also came with the adjuster nut, which is not in this bag. I don't know what I've done with it. Hang on a minute. And that just sits over. Somehow, it's got two flat sides. It'll just go on, and then you can screw this in and dial up where the choke sits level when it's upside down. We'll give it a bit more. That's probably about right there. There are two gaskets, and the kit also comes with new screws. I like the old school ones a bit better, but there are the new ones if you prefer to use them. And the gasket, which is just a ring. Which will just sit over, followed by this nut and the screw. Is it my daughter's alarm? Wrong size screwdriver. But for the purpose of demonstration, oops, it's going to be fun. And there it is. That's all there is to it. It's that easy. The other thing you do before we clean this up is I just made sure I fished out those O-rings there. And these are the new ones that come on the transfer tube, because we've got to stick that in the carburetor before we put that on when they slide in. A bit of lubricant, maybe a bit of tiny bit of rubber grease or anything really. You can use canola oil, it really doesn't matter. Right, getting the body of our carburetor. The important thing with this, and I got caught with one of these before, is this little transfer tube here. And it's got 2 O-rings on it, and it's really easy to drop it. Like in terms of it rolling off a table. Let's get it in there. Tiny bit of lubricant. There's only one gasket which has got the provision for that tube, which sits like that. We hope that's the right one. Turn around, try the other way. Goes that way. Okay. And we put a metering block on. Metering block goes that way. And there are little pegs as well, so we can relocate that. I'm just going to stick a bit of lube on here and in there, and that should sit on. Just like that. There shouldn't be any effort to put it on, it should just plop on, if you know what I mean. Okay, gaskets, which I'm not going to be that one. I'm tipping it's this one for the outer bowl. And the other thing we've got to do is get a transfer tube, lubricate the end of that, and slot it in there. I think my daughter's alarm's going off. And then that is going to go on top. Like that. And you just feel it sort of just cinch down nicely. We've got longer screws for this side, because it's got the metering block in it. Making sure our little plastic gaskets are on there. It's looking pretty good. Lovely. Right, so apparently this is an older style Holley. It's got that little check ball there. Blown it out, make sure it's all good. I actually stuck my finger over while I did it, just on the off chance that little brass thing didn't fly out and the ball go everywhere. Hang on. Accelerator pump, there's a little spring, and there's the diaphragm, the new diaphragm. That protrusion there is designed to run on this. Now it is a good idea to run this over a straight edge just to make sure, because they do pull in at the edges. And that one actually doesn't look too good, so I might do that with this. Just run it over a flat surface with a bit of wet and dry, because they pull in at the edges. So I might put that on later, actually. I've just noticed it. So we'll pop that away. Now there are a myriad of gaskets offered, base gaskets that are offered for this carburetor in this kit. Some are larger than others. Oh, I've got to put that on too. That's a little float inspection or fuel inspection port cover. Kit comes a little, looks like a steel gasket, but I don't think it is. So I'm just going to put this in and snug it up. Like that. One for the primary, one for the secondary. Right, so these gaskets, there's stacks of them. Some of them are a little bit bigger because they're obviously for a 750 and not a 600. Yeah, that's a large one, so we're not going to be using that. And then we've just got to go through process of elimination. There's quite a difference there. The ones that we need. Oopsie. So I'm just going to go through and try and find the one that fits the best, which is probably that. And you know, you're also making sure that no ports are blocked off. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time, make sure I get the right one for this. So I'm tipping that's the right one. There's only one that fitted what I would call exactly in terms of not blocking any of the holes that are there. And, you know, which is that's primaries that goes that way. So have to be very careful how we put it on. Just make sure we've got it all right. So this is fairly tricky. There's a little porthole. Have to make sure that's clear, which it is. This conical spring sits there in the diaphragm, and then we've got to line up that with that, if you know what I mean. And it's actually quite tricky to put on because it's easy to distort. That's what do you call it? That diaphragm is really easy to distort. So I'm just going to hold pressure on it. Make sure that I can see those screw holes through there before I start putting it back together. And just so that we can see the gasket all the way around the outside. Hopefully I've got it in the right spot there. I think I'm right. Yep. Seems to be working a treat. This goes on this side here and hooks over there. They're a self-adhesive gasket, and it looks like you can't see where the inside comes out, if you know what I mean, but you place it over, it sticks in place there. That's so cool. Okay. The rest of it is just a matter of putting it in position. I can't remember. Yeah, in there, like that. And then that just goes over and it pulls your secondaries open when your primaries are open sufficiently. I'm doing it from a weird angle here. That's a lot of... I just want to double check it before I put that little E-clip on. You have to put the secondary diaphragm on first. I'm just going to put that clip there. And then I'll have to get ready for work. I checked that for level. I've taken quite a bit off, but it's high in these corners. I think the rest of that's going to be fine. So that goes over and we just secure it with these guys. Fucking stupid thing. There we go. And I don't tighten anything up till everything's sort of started, and that way there's room for heartache. Oopsie. We still haven't got that linkage thing on that goes around here to operate this. But I think it's going to be fine. And I need to find 2 more screws. I think I've got a carburetor box somewhere full of bits and pieces, and I reckon I might have a couple in there. They look a lot like thermoquad ones, but if they're not, I don't care, I'll buy some. And we're just snugging this. We don't have to over tighten it, because that's the reason that it sort of warped in the first place. Perfect. Right, where's my little stand? Okay. Choke housing. There's a little embossed, where are we? A little peg just there when the tip of the screwdriver is. I'm hoping you can see that. It's just a fluted, or sorry, a knurled pin that you can knock out from in here. That will let you get that piston out that's going through that bore in there for the choke. These, I'm hoping I got this in the right spot. So opposite where it gets its air is where the choke rod operates, to the top here. And at the bottom there is the fast idle, which I'll bring the camera in a minute, which screws in from underneath here on that. So that runs on that with this weight. So it goes in sort of like that. Right, so I've been messing around with this for a little while. I'm a bit confused. This is a bit difficult to get in because there's a plastic slide that goes under there to stop any muck getting up here. Managed to do that. That's the choke. Now it's easy because there's 2 positions. This can go in this way or 180 the other way. 180 degrees, sorry, the other way. So I figured that wasn't right. So I know this goes on this side. I just can't remember. The problem I had was I pulled it apart, then sent it off to the blasters, got it cleaned, then sent it off to the platers and got stuff done, and all this stuff. And of course, I've forgotten. I haven't got a book either, so anyway. Do it that side. No. Yeah, well, that was easy enough. Oh man, and I've already forgotten. Bloody hell. Alright, hang on. I've made another mistake. So, if I pull it out again, take the choke off, I've got to put that gasket on. So you line up that hole with this one, press it down, and that's the gasket you've got to use. There. Really, it's a self-adhesive cork thing. Right, now we've established that, that rod has to go, because it's quite long coming off the choke itself, that has to go under there, because otherwise if you go there, this guy can't move. And that has to be able to move to get to the fast idle thing, which is here. So I'm assuming we get him and put him in, making sure we don't stuff the gasket up. There we go. It goes under. Yeah, it's not really user friendly, this bit, is it? And then that lines up perfectly. Yeah, I think that's right. The gasket's in situ, that's good. And this goes down. I've just got to open the throttle plates a bit to get it off, get it on the choke. For it to sit down. And that should be right. Just let me start this. And I'll wriggle it around and have another look. The only other things really, there's a gasket, goes around there, and that hooks in to there. We just rotate it counterclockwise to make it richer, or clockwise to let it off. Put that ring on. Yep. in the right spot there? I think it is. Oh, where are we? There's normally a port under there, just in here, where it picks up fresh air. That goes there, and that goes down to your manifold to get a bit of heat in there, I think. A lot of people just have a tube going from there and rely on the electric. That's pretty much it. I've lost my nozzle for the middle. I've got to go and find that. But the rest of it looks pretty hunky-dory. Right, that's looking pretty good now. It's rebuilt. This isn't correct. That's for the forward kick down. It needs to have another nut on the other side so you can actually change the depth of it. Otherwise it looks fairly hunky-dory. I've got to adjust this accelerator pump. It looks like it's working straight off idle, which is okay. Secondary lockout's good. I haven't put that on yet. Of course, we're missing a couple of nuts for a bolt, sorry, from underneath. I've used the existing ones here. I like the OE look. Around here, oh damn, ooh, it's heavy. Around here, the electric choke, I've just wrapped that up to make it a bit tidier. Stuck Teflon on. You don't need to put Teflon tape on those. It's a tapered gas thread anyway. So I should have taken that butterfly out. It is a bit, it's got a sticky spot in it. So I might still do that. And I've got to also get another one of these because that was damaged. So I need one of those. And the other thing is, the other spare part I've got left is this guy, and that's for the squirter. Whoops, down in there. Now, there's a little check valve goes in there. It looks like a needle and seat, so when fuel comes up, it sort of falls again, so nothing can fall back down. But I don't know where it is. I just had a quick look in the garage, cannot see it, so I'm not really sure. But otherwise, really happy. I think it looks the part. It looks wonderful. So, anyway, what other adjustments are there? The fast idle, which is that, whoa, where are we? That screw in there. I've got to set that up. There's also a way of setting up your idle so that you've got the right amount of those slots exposed. And I'm not sure what that is. I've just got to refer to a reference for that. And of course, as I said, these two here are missing, these two bolts. So I'm bound to have something here, or at least I hope I have. But anyway, that's all I've got for this one. So take good care of yourselves, enjoy Classic, and I'll see you soon.